This is almost high noon on the 1st of August, 2024. Clip with an embedded video on MSNBC. Where exactly do Trump's remaining criminal cases stand? And with August on the horizon, what action can realistically be expected in the coming weeks and months before the 2024 ends? Written by Lisa Rubin. Let's listen to this 4-minute and 43-second clip.
Donald Trump, in his convention speech last night, thanked the highly respected judge whom he appointed and who has seemingly gone out of her way to rule in Trump's favor repeatedly. In response to her ruling, Trump's lead defense attorney, Chris Kise, said, quote, Jack Smith, the special counsel, must now respect the rule of law, shut down his office, and end this unconstitutional abuse of power. For the record, Special Counsel Smith does not appear to be packing up anytime soon. His office filed an appeal with the 11th Circuit right away. Joining me now is Christy Greenberg, a former federal prosecutor who served for over a decade in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Christy, okay, this 11th Circuit has slapped down one of Judge Cannon's decisions earlier, the special master call that she made erroneously, in their words. Do you see them disagreeing with her on this decision to throw out the case?
Yes, absolutely, yes. Just to get a sense of how bad this argument is, Trump's lawyers didn't even make this argument in the D.C. case. Like, they didn't even try it. It came up during oral arguments in the presidential immunity case by Justice Thomas because he said, hey, are you arguing this here? He said, no. Trump's lawyer's like, no, we didn't. We argued it in Florida, but we didn't argue it here. Why? Why the difference? Well, there's very clear precedent in D.C. that special counsels are just fine. Two appellate courts have upheld it. There's a long history here of upholding it. And, it's a deeply rooted tradition back 140 years to have special counsels. Who said that? Brett Kavanaugh. There's a Supreme Court case on point. So it's such a bad ruling. It is so devoid of, looking at the statutory text, following Supreme Court precedent and the history, that I think this will be overturned.
You mentioned Clarence Thomas and Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh would seem to be a supporter of the appointment of the special counsel in this case, but Clarence Thomas, I won't even call it an Easter egg. It was like a big red flag, like, hey, Eileen Cannon, in case you want to dismiss that case on charges that the special counsel wasn't, dutifully appointed, here's my opinion on that, which is in support of you dismissing this case. He wrote that in the immunity ruling. Does that suggest, okay, first of all, is this going to get appealed up to the Supreme Court? And do you think that Clarence Thomas's opinion here holds sway with the other conservative members of the court, or enough of them to uphold her decision?
So I think it will, assuming that the 11th Circuit does the right thing here and overturns her ruling, then I think that will go up to the Supreme Court. And at least it is notable that no other justice joined Justice Thomas in that concurrence. Now, the reason for that may be that the fact is no attorney had raised it before them. It had not been briefed. It wasn't argued. So they may have just not joined because it wasn't properly before them. As you point out, Justice Thomas decided to wave this flag before Judge Cannon and say, here's permission. Here's the invitation to cut and paste, essentially, my reasoning into your opinion.
Setting the Supreme Court aside for a minute, given the transparently partisan, I'm not a lawyer, but even from the outside, she looks transparently partisan. Do you think there is a real movement to file a writ of mandamus? I know that's a law school term, but basically an appeal to get Judge Cannon taken off this case. Do you think that that's something that the special counsel's office will eventually do? And do you think it could be granted by the 11th Circuit?
So I think they don't want to put the cart before the horse just yet, in that I think they want to get the ruling from the 11th Circuit that she was wrong about this special counsel appointment ruling. And once they get now 2 in a row from the 11th Circuit where they've shown that she is dead wrong on the law, then they can say, look at these 2 rulings and look at a number of other rulings that she has had, or non-rulings, as it were, in the district court, put all of that together and say, you need to remove her. I think at that point, it will absolutely be ripe, and they should do it. Don't wait. Don't let it go back to her. And then, she'll just make another ruling. And then we're here months and months and months again.
You sound sort of cautiously optimistic that this is going to find a way forward.
It's hard to say because ultimately all roads lead to the Supreme Court. And so I don't think there is any way to feel confident about what they will do, given what we've seen of, the presidential immunity opinion here.
There are no guarantees anymore.
No.
Okay, Christy Greenberg, thank you for your legal wisdom, my friend.
Well, you heard what was said. July 2024 might better be remembered as the month in American politics that felt like a year. Former President Donald Trump avoided an assassination attempt and named his vice president nominee in a series of days. His then political rival withdrew from 2024 race and endorsed his own vice president. That would be camel-face on her knees, Kamala Harris. She got 1% of the vote when she ran for president. But focusing only on politics ignores a pair of massive developments, Special Counsel Jack Smith's 2 federal crime cases against Trump, which are expected to end if Trump is reelected. Still, with both cases have hit serious roadblocks, neither is over by a long shot. Here's what the federal cases stand. The federal classified document case. In Florida, Judge Aileen Cannon ruled this month that Attorney General Merrick Garland's November 2022 appointment as Smith as special counsel and the Justice Department's funding of the special counsel's office expenses were inconsistent with not one, but 2 provisions of Article 2 of the Constitution, the so-called appointments and appropriation clauses. Therefore, Cannon held that the case could not continue, regardless of whether Trump's other objections were valid. Smith's office had made clear how and where it plans to forge ahead. Specifically, with the blessing of the DOJ, the special counsel filed an appeals on Cannon's July 15 order with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, which oversees federal trial courts in Florida as well as Alabama and Georgia. Some legal experts, including former federal prosecutors and MSNBC legal analyst Mary McCord, have argued that having the GOD re-indict the case would be the best and most expeditious way to get the case back on track. But according to former U.S. Attorney and MSNBC legal analyst Joyce Vance, if the special counsel pursues the appeal, the DOJ is extremely unlikely to redirect during its presidency. Its pendency, among other reasons, because it will likely mute the appeal. Note also that to date, Smith's office has only filed a notice of appeal, which is like a declaration of its intent. The actual brief is not due until August 27th. Currently, Trump's opposition to the appeal is due 30 days thereafter, and the special counsel can submit a reply 21 days after that, with briefing ending in mid-October and no argument date set. It is unlikely the 11th Circuit Court issue an opinion before the election, and to date, the special counsel's office has not asked the court to expedite briefing and consideration of the appeal. Yet in 2022, Smith requested and got an expedited briefing when he successfully appealed Cannon's appointment of a special master to review materials seized in Mar-a-Lago in August of that year. The time frame for Smith's appeal could be equally critical here. Bottom line, the Mar-a-Lago document case is over for now, but it could come back with a vengeance after the 11th Circuit ruling, assuming Trump is not back in the Oval Office by then. I'll attach the link. There's more for you to read. Pass it along, and thanks for listening.